Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or afternoon, whichever one you happen to be watching. Once again, this is Mrs. McKinney coming to you with another video on how to solve the quadratic equation or use it. So, yesterday in our video, what we had was this problem that I started with, or I started talking about, and then we switched to another problem. I did promise to go back over it, so I am going to finish with this problem. What I said before was that we have to start by setting our equation equal to 0. So in order to do that, I'm going to start by adding 2 to both sides. Remember, as always, we're going to line up our like terms. So I had a 2, which is a constant. So on this side, I'm going to add 2, which is our constant, to the 1. When I do that over here, I get a great big 0. So I have 0 here and equals. Anything that was unchanged stays exactly the same. And then I have 1 plus 2, which gives me a positive 3. Now we're going to set up our A, B, and C. So A is equal to, B is equal to, C is equal to. And for those who actually have my class, if you look at the notes, these things are the same in the notes. So my A value is going to be 4. My B value, excuse me if it's blurry, there we go. My B value is negative 7. And then my C value is going to be a positive 3. And so now we're going to take this and use our discriminant, which we talked about yesterday. We learned about yesterday. And also in our notes or in our last video. So remember, our discriminant we're going to find from using b to the second minus 4 times a times c. And we use our a, b, and c from here in order to substitute those values and solve for our discriminant. When I do that, I'm going to wind up with b, which is negative 7 to the second power, times 4 times a, which is 4, and then times c, which is 3. And now we're going to multiply that all together in order to solve. So from here we have negative 7 to the second power. That gives us 49. And then we have 4 times 4, which is 16, and 16 times 3. I don't have my calculator on me. And in order to continue my video, I'm just going to do my scratch work off to the side. That gives me 48. And now from here, we're going to continue. So 49 minus 48, that gives me 1. So my discriminant is 1. Now, from the notes, what you should remember or go back and look at the PowerPoint, we actually have this information. And what it says is if I have my number, the value I just came up with is positive because our 1 was positive. So I'm looking at either this one or this one. And because my number 1 is positive, it's a positive perfect square because 1 times 1 is 1. Then that means I'm going to have 2 rational numbers as my solution. So back over here, I know at the end when I'm done, I'm making a little note to myself. I'm going to have 2 solutions. So now coming back up here, we're going to take this and place it into our quadratic equation, which says the opposite of b plus or minus. We put 2a at the bottom. If you remember, the axis of symmetry formula is the opposite of b divided by 2 times a. And we divide all of that by everything we just had up here a second ago for the discriminant. So it's b squared minus 4ac. It looked very intimidating, but once we realize where all of our values come from, this becomes a lot easier. So we're going to start by substituting. I can substitute from here. So I have the opposite of b. My b value is negative 7. The opposite will be positive 7 plus or minus the square root of my discriminant. My discriminant we just found a minute ago. So instead of rewriting everything, we just put 1. And I'm going to divide that by 2 times a, and my a value is 4. So now I'm going to take that and I'm going to split it, separate it into 2 different equations. Why am I separating it? Because I have both a plus and a minus. So I'm going to separate those into 2 different equations. So I have 7 plus the square root of 1, which is 1. And I'm going to divide that by 8 because 2 times 4 is 8. And then over here, I'm going to have 7 minus 1 divided by 8. And now we're going to just solve those equations. So here I have 7 plus 1, which gives me an 8 divided by 8, which equals 1. And then I have 7 minus 1, which gives me 6 divided by 8. And that's going to give me a fraction. Please, please, please reduce your fraction. So I have 3/4. So my x values, because all of this was equal to x, is going to be x comma 0. And over here I have 3/4. You know I love my fractions, so I'm going to keep this a fraction. If it makes you happy, you can turn it into a decimal, which will be 0.75. But I'm going to leave mine as a fraction. And so my quadratic equation, my solutions, my 1, 2 solutions for this quadratic equation is going to be +1 and +3/4. All right, talk to you later.